Loud. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for Managing Risk for Your Business. This lunch and learn should take about an hour. We're being joined by Mr. Patrick Bell, who's the Assistant Commissioner for the Division of Diversity and Opportunity with the Louisiana Department of Insurance. And he is going to get started now. Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Oh, you're welcome. And good morning, everybody. As Cheryl just said, I am Patrick Bell. I'm the Assistant Commissioner for the Division of Diversity and Opportunity. And I want to share some information that I think is very important for a lot of businesses. And let me give you the little history of this presentation. Years ago, I worked for a congressman from Louisiana, and after one of the hurricanes, Hurricane Andrew to be exact, came through, the congressman dispatched several staff people to different parishes and cities to see how we can help with coordinating recovery and anything else that was needed. And one of the things I kept hearing from business owners was that they were saying they didn't know what they were going to do because they didn't have enough insurance or they didn't have the right insurance. And so I made a mental note, and years later, I changed jobs and went to work for a bank. And again, after a storm came through, in talking to business owners, I kept hearing the same thing, the same refrain. That is, you know, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I didn't have enough insurance, or I didn't have the right insurance. So made another mental note about that. And so when I joined the Department of Insurance 13 years ago, I said that I would create a presentation and really take it on the road to share with as many business owners as I possibly can to kind of get them thinking about how they can protect themselves in the event of a major disaster or through the course of ordinary business operations. And so we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, I want you to be aware that the information contained in this presentation is not intended to provide a complete list of the insurance products and coverages an organization should have. The true intent of this presentation is to aid an organization in a conversation with a licensed insurance agent. And so therefore, be sure to consult a professional licensed insurance agent to discuss your insurance needs. Sound like somebody needs to mute. Okay, focus your attention on this and burn it into the back of your memory. You don't have to be at fault to be sued. All right, this next slide, I want you to think about this. Defending yourself in court can be expensive, whether you are at fault or not. It can cost you a fortune to defend yourself. So that is the basis for which we're going to talk about risk. So what is risk? Well, risk is a situation where there's an exposure to financial loss. It's also defined as a condition which there is the possibility of an adverse deviation from a desired outcome that is expected or hoped for. You're probably saying, what in the world does that mean? Well, think of it in these terms. Let's say you're driving down a highway and your desired goal is to get to your destination safely. However, deviation might be getting into an accident. And when there's an accident, there's always some type of financial loss. There's damage to your vehicle, there's damage to somebody else's vehicle. Chances are there'd be personal injuries that would need to be compensated for, or unfortunately, even deaths. And so those are the financial risk exposures that may occur as a result of a deviation from your desired outcome. So risk management is the process by which strategies are used to prevent or reduce that loss exposure. So what kind of strategies are we talking about? Well, we're talking about insurance. And insurance is a contract between the insurer, which is the insurance company, and the insured, which is you, to cover certain potential losses. Insurance is a mechanism of transferring or shifting risk from one person to another. So given that example about the automobile accident, if you at fault, then you are responsible for that other person's vehicle. You are responsible for any injuries or compensating for a death. All right. However, what you've done when you buy an insurance policy is that you transfer that risk from yourself to the insurance company, so that if you do have an accident, then the insurance company steps up and pays out the claims. The insurance company steps up and represents you in court in the event that you are sued. So insurance protects you and your business from exposure to these financial risks. And insurance protects and makes whole your customers and clients, as well as employees, vendors, and contractors. So there are numerous types of insurance products, coverages, and endorsements. And by no means is this list or the list on the next slide an exhaustive list of all of the coverages that are out there. However, we're going to talk about a few today. We're going to talk about general liability, product liability, professional liability, commercial property, commercial auto, builder's risk. We're going to talk about business interruption, workers' comp, common carrier, insurance. We're going to talk about flood insurance, umbrella, key person, life and health. And we're also going to talk about employment practices liability, which is something I recently added to this presentation. Okay, general liability provides coverage for liability exposure of property owned or occupied, meaning that if you're leasing a building, you do have, and you have a commercial, well, if you have general liability, you're going to have some coverage there, but you also will have it on your commercial property, which we'll get into in a little more detail shortly. Provides coverage for incidents relating to business operations, whether on-site or off-site, and it may provide contingent coverage for the protection for the acts of others, such as independent contractors or vendors you may have working along with you. Product liability coverage provides protection for damages resulting from faulty products. It protects sellers as well as manufacturers from these liability losses, and it makes whole the injured parties. So if you're looking at this slide and you see that busted out tire, well, Firestone several years ago had a problem with its tires blowing out, and it caused people to get into accidents. People were injured, their automobiles were damaged. Well, they ended up having to put out a lot of money for the situation with their tires. More recently was with Toyota. Toyota had a problem with its cars accelerating, which you may remember, and that caused people to get into accidents, and people were injured, their automobiles were damaged. This is just one settlement that was reached with Toyota in 2013 for $29 million, which was a part of an overall $1.1 billion of liability that Toyota was facing. All right, so just imagine what would have happened to Toyota if they had to pay that out of their reserves, or if they had to pay that out of their operating funds. You know, it probably would have bankrupted the company. But because they had product liability insurance, the insurance carriers stepped up and paid out those claims. Okay, commercial property insurance, similar to your homeowners, it provides coverage for damage to the structure as well as the contents. And it also provides some general liability on the premises. In the event somebody's injured on the premises, you'll be covered with your commercial property insurance policy. Okay, builder's risk insurance is a special type of commercial property insurance in that it provides protection for the interests of a building owner, contractor, or subcontractors while it is under construction. The coverage is based upon the completed value, and coverage continues during construction and automatically terminates once the structure is completed or occupied. So think about this. You having a building built, all right? And let's say we get some bad weather to come through and blows down everything that's been built up so far. So you may find yourself in a situation, what do? Do you reach in your pocket, put out additional money? Do you go to the bank to borrow additional money to start the project all over again? Or would you rather just file a claim with your insurance company and have them provide the resources to start all over again? Here's another scenario that that would be covered under builder's risk. Let's say you're in the middle of construction and a set of knuckleheads decide they want to do some vandalism. And what they do, they take, they take whatever and start damaging everything that's been built up so far. And again, what do? You borrow additional money, you go into your pocket, or you rather file an insurance claim. A third scenario might be, let's say you have materials that are delivered to the job site that are going to be used in the construction. And let's say another set of knuckleheads decide they want to steal the materials. Then what do? Do you go in your pocket to replace those materials, or do you file a claim with the insurance carrier to get the proceeds to replace those items that were stolen? So those are a few examples of where a builder's risk policy might kick in and why you might want to consider purchasing one. Because the structure is not insured while it's under construction. So you would need to have some type of policy in place, and that would be a builder's risk policy. Same thing applies to a situation where you might have a major renovation taking place. And so the renovation would need to be covered because that will not be covered during the construction. So moving on, commercial auto insurance provides liability protection for vehicles used in a business. It provides coverage for damage to business-owned vehicles and the vehicles of others, and it provides coverage for employees driving business vehicles. I want to pause here and emphasize this point. If you're using your personal automobile in your business, be sure to tell your insurance agent that you're doing that, because the insurance company could be within their rights to deny a claim for you not telling them that you're using your personal automobile in your business. Your private passenger auto policy may not kick in. So make sure you have that conversation with your insurance agent. One of two things are going to happen. One is that the company will extend the coverage by making a notation in the file, or two, they may have to sell you a commercial endorsement to your private passenger insurance policy to cover things relating to your automobile when it's being used in business. Again, it's gonna fluctuate by what company you're with, what business you're in, and how frequently the vehicle is going to be used in your business. Okay, common carrier insurance is a special type of commercial auto policy whereby it provides liability coverage for those entities that transport goods, products, and people on behalf of others. They include entities such as bus companies, trucking companies, airlines, hotshot, party buses, those kind of entities. If you are paid to transport people, products, and goods, then you definitely need to look at common carrier insurance, because you are responsible while those items are in your care, meaning while they're being transported by you, you're responsible for them. And so you would need to protect your business from having to pay those liabilities. And so that's where a common carrier insurance policy would be beneficial. Okay, employment practices liability, something I added to this presentation recently, provides liability protection for defense costs and damages related to employment-related claims. Claims such as wrongful termination, discrimination, workplace harassment, and retaliation, and any number of things could occur in the workplace. And so you'll be covered in the event that you are sued or that there's a claim made against you by an employee or a former employee or a disgruntled employee. So that's called employment practices liability. Okay, professional liability provides coverage for the actions of professional individuals performing a task. Lawyers, doctors, accountants, insurance agents, investment advisors, tax preparers, they all should have professional liability insurance. Protects those serving in business organizations as officers and directors, and it provides coverage for errors and omissions. So let's say you are a tax preparer, and if you make mistakes on somebody's tax return, then they're going to probably want to sue you in order to be made whole again for that additional money they have to fork out to the Department of Revenue or to the Internal Revenue Service. So if you have professional liability, if you make a mistake, then you're going to be covered by your insurance carrier. They will represent you in court. They will pay out any claims that are made against you. Okay, flood insurance is something we probably don't need to spend a whole lot of time on, because we've learned our lesson over the years that if it's a result of rising water, meaning if it rains a whole lot, or if a bayou, creek, or river overflows and it floods your business, then that would be a flood insurance claim, and your commercial property will not pay. So you would need to look at purchasing flood insurance, which is a separate policy that you would purchase. It's administered by FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and Congress regulates that. And again, it covers those damages resulting from rising water, if you will. But if you have a hole in your roof, or if you have a pipe that burst in a wall, that's covered on your commercial property. But if it's from rising water, meaning rain, excessive rain, or the overflowing of a bayou, river, lake, whatever, that would have to be a flood claim. Okay, home-based business insurance. If you're operating out of your home, pay close attention. You would need to look at purchasing a business policy, because your homeowner's policy may not cover business equipment, inventory, or supplies that you may have at your home. Your homeowner's policy probably won't cover liabilities resulting from the home business, and your homeowner's policy may not cover that portion of the house used for business. So let's talk about this, for example, for a moment. Let's say you are preparing taxes out of your home, and one of your clients comes over to the house to either drop off their tax information or to pick up their tax information. And let's say they trip over one of the kids' toys in the yard and they injured themselves. Well, that responsibility is going to be on you. All right, because your homeowner's insurance company may say, oh, we didn't know you were operating a business out of your home, and therefore this incident is not covered. So you need to make sure you have that conversation with your insurance agent. And again, one of two things are going to happen. One is that they may make a notation and extend the coverage. The second thing that may occur is that they have to sell you a commercial endorsement to your homeowner's policy, which would be a home-based business policy. Okay, and so make sure you have that conversation with your agent. Another scenario could be, let's say you have a fire at your home, and the insurance adjuster comes out and say they're walking through the damaged areas, and they say, okay, this is a bedroom, we can tell that. This is the kitchen, that's obvious. This is the living room. But what's this? This doesn't look like a bedroom or a kitchen or anything. And you say, oh, that's my office for my business. That insurance adjuster may say that, well, the company didn't know you were operating a business out of your home, and so therefore this room is not going to be covered. Anything in this room is not going to be covered, meaning any equipment or any supplies or inventory that you may have may not be covered. So it's important that you talk to your insurance agent and let them know that you're operating a business out of your home. And again, one of two things are going to happen. One, they may make a notation in the file and extend the coverage, or two, they'll have to sell you a commercial endorsement to your homeowner's policy. Okay, workers' compensation insurance, state mandated coverage if you have employees. It provides coverage for injured workers, and it covers the injured workers as well as employer liability if the employer was not at fault in providing a safe environment. The benefits are determined by the state and typically no policy limits. The premiums are based upon the total payroll and the job classification of the employees. There may be some situations where independent contractors may have to be covered under your workers' comp. And be aware that you are subject to periodic audits because you have to make sure that your employees are classified properly, because that's how your premium is going to be based. And if you fail to properly classify your employees, they could cancel the policy, they could deny a claim, or they could assess a penalty. So be aware that you need to properly classify your employees. And then there may be situations where some contract that you may engage in may require that you have workers' compensation insurance on yourself as well as any employees that you may have. Okay, business packages, better known as business owner policies or BOPs. What they do, they combine several types of insurance products all into one, which saves you some money and provides you with the coverage that you need. And so you might want to inquire about those. But let's take, for example, you have a BOP policy, which will provide you with some general liability, probably some property insurance coverage, some business vehicle coverage, workers' comp, and electronic data, meaning your information on your computers, not other people's information, but your information on a computer. Let's say you have lightning strike the building and it fries your computers. So you have coverage for that through your insurance policy to get the computer repaired and maybe retrieve the data. So keep in mind also that there are some packages that are designed for specific industries. If you have a service business, there's a package for that. If you have a regular storefront retail, there's a package for that, for construction and home base. So if there is packages like that, again, you can save money by having all of the coverage or most of the coverages you need all in one package. Okay, business and key person insurance. Loss of key personnel can be devastating to a business, so you would need to consider life and disability insurance on those key individuals. The policy provides coverage for losses related to the death or incapacity of these key personnel. The business is usually the owner and the beneficiary of the policy. So let's take, for example, you have a business, let's say you have a restaurant and you have a chef that's employed with you. They have the cooking skills, they have the recipes that are key to your business being successful. So you may want to insure in the event something happens to them, so that you can bring somebody else on, or you can contract with somebody else to provide whatever services they were providing, which may cost you additional money. So if you are a business that has a situation like that, you might want to consider key person life and health on key individuals that are responsible for the success of your business. Something else you might want to keep in mind, that if you have a business partner or co-owner of your business, you may want to take out the insurance on them as well, because if something happens to them, guess what? Their family is going to inherit their interest in your business, and you may not want them involved in your business. They may try to pressure you to cash out or to sell the business so they could cash out. But if you have key person insurance, you can get the proceeds from the policy and use that to buy out the family, and that way you can move on. And so just be aware that if you have a business partner and they're key to the success of your business, then you would need to look at key person life and health insurance. Okay, business interruption and extra expense. This is one of the areas where it's critical in disasters. It provides coverage for the loss of income caused by disruption of business activity. The disruption may be as a result of damage to the property occupied by the insured or damage to somebody else's property, such as another tenant in an office building or in a strip center. So let's take, for example, you operating out of a strip center. And let's say there are 4 businesses in a strip center, and let's say one of them has a fire, all right, and the fire causes substantial damage. However, the fire marshal comes out and says, oh, this is pretty substantial, this is a hazard, we got to shut down the whole strip center. Even though you perfectly fine, even though you had no damage, you could find yourself not able to operate because of the substantial damage to somebody else's structure. So what do you do in the meantime? You got bills to pay. You need to maybe find a temporary location. Well, if you have business interruption, you can get assistance from the insurance company to either pay your bills while you're unable to operate, or you can get assistance to move into a temporary location until your old location becomes operable again. The policy could provide coverage for expenses relating to that temporary relocation, or it could provide coverage for extra expenses incurred by a business if the disruption had not occurred. So those are just some examples about business interruption and extra expense coverage. Okay, umbrella coverage, written in conjunction with other liability policies, and it may provide liability coverage over and beyond primary policy limits. And it may provide protection for liabilities not covered by primary policy. So think of it in these terms. It's pouring down raining outside. And of course, your first line of defense might be to put on a raincoat and a rain hat and maybe some rain boots. All right, but you're still getting a little bit wet and you want some additional protection. So what you may do is open up an umbrella to overlap your raincoat, your rain hat, and your rain boots to provide you with an extra layer of protection. So that's the way an umbrella policy works. It provides you with an extra layer of protection. Now, you can't just go out and buy an umbrella policy. You have to have other liability policies to stick underneath it. So it could be a general liability, it could be a commercial property policy, the liability portion. It could be commercial auto liability that you can stick underneath the umbrella to provide you with additional protection. So what I mean by additional protection, meaning that if you have, let's say, $1 million of general liability, however, on a rare instance, you may need $2 million. Well, rather than buying $2 million that you don't need on a regular basis, you buy it, you stick with the $1 million of general liability, and you get an umbrella to take you from that $1 million to maybe $2 million. All right. And it only kicks in once the limits are met with the other underlying policies. So that's the way an umbrella works. So you just can't go out and buy an umbrella without having these other underlying policies. Okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about dealing with your agent. Make sure your agent is properly licensed, and you can do that on our website. Check with your state regulator, that's us, to see if there are or have been any complaints against the agent. Check to see if your agent has special industry designations. So a lot of times when you look at a person's business card, they got these initials behind their name, such as one you might see might be CPCU, meaning that they're a chartered property and casualty underwriter. And what that means is that they've taken these courses, they passed these tests to get these designations. So that could be helpful. That means they have a greater understanding of property and casualty insurance. Be sure your agent fully understands your business. So you might need to invite your agent to come see your operations, whether on-site or off-site, so they can get a full picture of what it is you're doing. That way they can recommend the insurance coverages that you need in order to be totally protected. Be sure to read your policy and policies. Ask your agent questions about the policy and any potential exposures you may have. Ask your agent about items that are excluded from the policy and about deductibles. Those are two areas where people are surprised the most when they make claims. They find out what the deductible is at that time, or they find out something is excluded. So ask your agent how a potential loss will be handled, and then consult your agent before filing a claim, because so many times people make mistakes and they leave money on the table. So if you have a claim, consult your agent to help you with the claim, because you may make a mistake and leave money on the table. And then periodically review your coverages with your agent, because as your business grows, your insurance needs are going to change, and you want to make sure that your that you are adequately covered at all times, that you don't have any gaps in your insurance coverage. All right, the declarations page, which is a part of the insurance policy. It describes the property that's insured. It lists the coverage that's provided and the amounts. It lists any items that are excluded. Remember, that's one of the areas where people are surprised the most. Lists any mortgagees that you may have. It lists the amount of the premium and the fees. It lists the deductible amounts. That's the second area where people are surprised. You know, a lot of people are surprised after Hurricane Ida when they find out that the $1,000 deductible that applies to other perils did not apply to the hurricane deductible, which was maybe 2% or even 5% of the insured value. And what that means, let's say you have a building, let's say it's insured for $100,000, all right? And let's say you have a 5% named storm deductible, all right? That's gonna be taken off of the top of the claim. All right, let's say you have $15,000 worth of damage. All right, $5,000 is going to come off right off the top. All right, because it's going to be 5% of the insured value of the structure and not 5% of the damage, which will be a lower number. All right, so that's the deductible that you need to be aware of, and then list the coverage forms. It lists the coverage forms and endorsements that attach to the policy, such as an umbrella or some other type of policy. All right, the declaration page also states the policy period, lists any co-insurance percentages that you may have, and lists any optional coverages that you may have, and then finally, the name and contact information of the agent, and then the name of the insurance company. A couple of other tidbits I want to share with you. So many times, the business you're in, they may have insurance requirements, either because whoever you receive the permit through says you have to have this type of insurance, or somebody you contracting with say you have to have this type of insurance. Keep in mind, that is not the only insurance that you need. All right, those requirements that they set for are to protect the public or protect them that you may be engaged in business with. All right, you still have liability exposures to your business and to yourself. And so when you go in to talk to an insurance agent, don't just say you need, they tell me I need $1 million of general liability and that's all. No, you need to talk to them about everything to make sure you're adequately covered. So that you don't find yourself in a situation where you didn't have the right insurance or didn't have enough insurance. I remember this one case, one complaint that we received where this business owner was complaining that the insurance agent kept asking him a bunch of questions about their business. And that person thought that that the agent was just being too nosy, trying to get into their business. And but the truth of the matter was they were trying to make sure that they were adequately covered in all aspects of the business, not just you know, because that person went in and said, oh, I need general liability of $1 million. They said, well, yeah, we can take care of that. However, let me ask you these questions so that we can make sure you're adequately covered, you know. And so when dealing with your agent and they start asking a lot of questions, just keep in mind that they're trying to make sure that they're covering everything that you have an exposure to. If not, they would be failing in their duty to be a good agent for you. All right, this time entertain any questions that you may have.
Hi, my name is Darby. I have a janitorial and facility maintenance company, and we are in the process of getting our contractor's license. It's a specialty license for instrumentation and calibration with Louisiana. And I wanted to know about specialty insurance for something like that. So basically, we will be going into the plant and doing their maintenance and things like that. What type of specialty insurance would you maybe recommend or for something like that?
Well, you would need to really go through that with your agent to make sure. But well, let me back up. Before that, if you're going to be dealing with a plant, they're going to have insurance requirements. All right, that's
Right.
going to be the first step. they're going to tell you what they need as far as requirements. Now, just for your overall business, some of the things that I covered in this presentation are going to be the coverages that you're going to need.
Okay.
You know, employment. So I'm assuming you're going to be employing people, so you may
Right.
need to make sure you have employment practices coverage, which may be included in a BOP policy, a business owner policy, where I talked about all these different coverages that are combined into one policy.
Mhm.
What kind of vehicles are you going to be using? Are they going to be company-owned vehicles, or using your personal vehicle? Or will employees be using their personal vehicles?
Yeah, so we're gonna have company vehicles.
Oh, okay, company vehicles. So you're definitely going to have a commercial auto policy, which you'll be covered there.
Right.
The equipment that you're going to be using, is it very expensive equipment?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so, all right, so you may want to get insurance on your equipment. Now, sometimes some of those policies are called floaters. All right, that covers equipment that's taken from one place to another.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So you want to make sure you have coverage when it's at your facility not being used, and also while it's being transported to the job site. And once it's on the job site, you want to make sure it's covered. So that's called a floater policy that you would need to look at getting. But your insurance agent will cover all of those things with you when you sit down and talk to them about your business.
Got it. Okay. And so by any chance, do you or anybody in your office, do you guys specialize in like specialty insurance? I
Now,
think
when you
someone
say
told me that's
special,
what it's called, specialty insurance.
well, a lot of these products are specialty products. Yeah, specialty
Okay.
insurance is, like the floater, that's a specialty. I'm not sure what other contact, where did you hear that about specialty insurance?
I heard it from actually my CPA, because like I said, we're working on getting our contractor's license, and the license that we're gonna get through Louisiana, the contracting board is a specialty license. And so she
Mhm.
was saying also look into making sure you have a specialty insurance that covers it, because it's not just like a regular job or service that we would be offering.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, so you would need to talk to your agent about that.
Got it. Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Thank you
yeah.
so much for your time. This is
Oh, you're
really
welcome.
really great information.
Well, glad you found it helpful. Anybody else?
Thank you so much, Mr. Bell. So I did have a question from someone who wasn't able to attend,
Okay.
but she emailed in a question, and she wondered, because you're not necessarily an insurance agent, what
Mhm.
reasons would someone engage with the Louisiana Department of Insurance? What services do you guys provide? What kind of oversight, like as a small business owner, what reasons would they have to contact you all?
Well, one of the things that we provide, well, first of all, the Department of Insurance is the regulator of insurance activity. So that means that we regulate the companies, we regulate the insurance agents, the claims adjusters, bail bondsmen, mostly everything dealing with insurance. We regulate with some limitations. For example, on health insurance, we have very limited authority over the health insurance companies, but we do license them. So anything relating to insurance, for the most part, we are the regulator. Now, as far as services that we provide to the general public, is that we make sure that companies that you do business with, the insurance companies do business with, are financially solvent, meaning that they have the ability to pay claims out when the time comes. All right. We also have the ability to investigate complaints that you may have against an insurance company. We have a division that's set up to just deal with complaints. We have, of course, we have the solvency, again, that deals with making sure that the companies are financially sound. We have another division that investigates fraud. If there's any instance of fraud, we have a fraud division that deals with fraud with regard to insurance. And we have the Office of Consumer Advocacy, which goes out into the general public and educate the general public about insurance. And of course, my division, we go out just like what I'm doing today, and we provide information to business owners about insurance. So that's the services that the Department of Insurance provides to the general public. We look out for the general health and wealth of the insurance industry in Louisiana, and to make sure that the policyholders are properly protected.
That is awesome information.
Mhm.
There were several other things that you touched on. So like the home-based business insurance, independent contractor and employee insurance, and life insurance for business owners. Those three things were the things that stood out most to me that I think business owners don't really consider. Are there other things, and again, because I know you're not an insurance agent, are there other, like, what's the most common thing that you feel like business owners don't really know or pay attention to or focus on as it relates to insurance?
Oh, sure. Actually, three things. The key person, life and health is one. Business interruption insurance. A lot of times that's included, but the business owner may not be aware of what coverages they have. And so they need to be aware of that. And then number three, employment liability insurance. Particularly if you have employees, and let's say you have to fire somebody because of them being late all the time, for example. Chances are you may get sued. Or let's say you have to discharge a person because you feel they're not performing up to par. All right, they disagree. They figure, a lot of times the employee think, hey, if it wouldn't be for me, this company go under.
Wouldn't float, right?
Right. And so that could be a lawsuit. Sexual harassment from an employee, a fellow employee, from a manager, or from a vendor. Like, for example, if one of your employees comes up to you and say, hey, look, every time I go over to such and such business, I'm being harassed by this person. And if you don't, as the business owner, if you don't do anything about it, like, for example, report it to that other business for them to take steps with that employee, you could be sued.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is very interesting.
And of course, conflicts between employees. If one of your employees comes complaining about another employee and you don't do anything about it, and then all of a sudden it blows up and something happens, a big fight, and people are injured or whatever, or you have to fire somebody, you could be sued. So when you think about insurance, you have to think about the what ifs. What if this happens? What if a storm comes through? What if employees act up? What if, whatever. Something else, it's not applicable to all businesses, but some businesses may be impacted by this, and that would be some type of event insurance. Take, for example, right now it's festival time, and a lot of businesses are gearing up for these festivals. They may be purchasing special equipment, or they may be purchasing supplies for a special event, particularly those supplies that may be perishable. Jazz Fest, that's a good example. Let's say the weather's so bad that the Jazz Fest gets canceled. All right. Now the business is invested in all of these things. All right. They're losing out on revenue. They lost out on revenue. They need to be compensated some kind of way. So if they have that event type of insurance in the event of a cancellation, or in the event that they purchase these items and it's gone bad, and when the event is rescheduled, you got to replace those items. So where the money is going to come from. So you might look at some type of event insurance. If you remember, COVID shut down everything. All right. So
Exactly.
fairs,
Yeah.
festival, Essence Festival, all that kind of stuff. People invested a lot of money in
Yeah.
equipment and supplies and so forth. So that's a what if that you need to think about and be prepared for. If
It's
they
what,
engage
like
in that kind of
insurance, insurance is one of those things just across the board, whether it's life insurance, health insurance, homeowners insurance, they always say it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Is there such a thing as, and so to that point though, is there such a thing as a business owner having too much insurance?
Too much insurance? Yeah, I mean, they could be overinsured. And I give you a good example. In addition to working here at the department, I'm also a pastor of a church. And the church I was at previously, our policy was coming up for renewal. And I reached out to the agent to kind of do an update. And so the agent came down to the church, and myself and the board of trustees, we did a walk around with the agent. And as he looked at our policies, he noticed that we were grossly overinsured on contents because he said with their company, the pews, the pulpit furniture, the organ, the PA system, and several things like that were considered part of the structure. All
Oh,
right, and not
wow.
considered contents. And so we
Okay.
were able to reduce our content by about $30,000, if I remember correctly. All right, that's how much we were insured because those things were considered part of structure and not considered contents.
Contents.
And so we were
Okay.
able to save some money by reducing the amount of contents coverage we had.
How often do you think business owners should do reviews like I know, I mean, just on a personal note, as a homeowner, my husband and I, we look at our policy every year on the
Right.
house just to make sure. Are there similar standards for that for business owners to
Well,
consider?
I wouldn't say standards, but I just think it's good business to periodically and perhaps yearly review your insurance coverages with your agent. Because sometimes when the policy comes up for renewal, they send out a notice of some changes to the policy. And so if you are having a review with your agent, the agent will point out what those new policy changes are. Give you a good example. The church that I'm at now, when our policy came up for renewal, luckily for me, I understood that and learned how to read everything. I saw where wind and hail was being dropped from our insurance policy. Okay.
Wow. And in
Yeah.
Louisiana?
Yeah. So and so that meant we had to go out and buy wind and hail coverage from somewhere else, which ended up being Citizens. All right. But one of the things I heard over the years is that, yeah, and churches are really bad for this, and sometimes business owners too. When the policy comes up for renewal, there's some changes to it, and they don't pay attention to it. They just keep paying the premium. They say, okay, premium basically the same, or maybe a slight increase. We just, they just continue to pay and not really look at what changes may have been made to that policy. And so I heard a lot of churches crying because they didn't realize that the wind and hail was dropped years before.
Wow.
And that they didn't have wind and hail coverage. So that's why I say perhaps yearly, review your coverages with your insurance agent. And the other thing about it, with your business is going to grow. All right. And as your business grows, your insurance needs are going to change. And so you need to make sure your insurance keeps up with your business.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And I think oftentimes too, as to your point of businesses growing, and hopefully that revenue is increasing, because I know one of the things that sparked us connecting with you was having meetings with business owners, and they're like, I can't afford business insurance. It's too expensive, and particularly living in Louisiana, you really can't afford not to have it. And
Right.
so, like you're saying, having those conversations with that insurance agent to really find what can work for you, especially like many of the business owners that LCCF works with are home-based businesses who probably have never even considered home-based business insurance.
Right.
Never even thought about that as an option.
Well, but here's the thing. Depending on the business they're in and depending on who their homeowner's insurance is with, it may not be required to purchase a separate insurance, because it may, the activity may not warrant additional financial exposures.
That's understandable. Yeah.
Right.
But it is definitely vital that those business owners who are watching this now, who are on with us live now, and even watching the replay when we post it on YouTube, have those conversations with your insurance agent. Reach out to Mr. Bell for any questions you guys may have. He can, point you in the right direction of all of those services that he mentioned that the Department of Insurance provides. Mr. Bell, did you have anything else for us before we wrap up?
No, just that I put my contact information in the on the last slide that's on the screen right now.
Awesome. And we'll make sure that we, like I said, we'll post this information on our YouTube channel sometime this week, because of course it is National Small Business Week. And Mr. Bell, thank you so much for all the information you provided for us. Thank you for providing your contact, and we hope to connect with you again soon. Thank you to all of you who are on the webinar and those of you who are watching. All of our information is going to be at the end of the video. Thank you so much for everything, and we'll talk soon.
Oh,
Bye-bye,
one more thing, Cheryl.
Yes, sir.
Do you need a copy of this presentation?
That would be great. Yeah, if you can provide a copy of the slides, I can email them to everyone.
Yeah, okay. I'll send you a PDF of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everything.
You're welcome. Good luck, everybody.